The sun has left.
Your stories don't define you, but how you tell them will. Hi, I'm Sarah Elkins, your host and chief storymaker at Elkins Consulting. In a moment of inspiration on a recent hike, I realized that after more than 430 episodes of this show, it's overdue for a format change. For the book I'm writing, a companion to my recently published TEDx talk, I'm exploring research around narrative identity, which is the way the stories we share influence who we are. And I'm studying self-awareness as defined by present-day psychologists. The new format for my show aligns with what I'm learning, and my hope is that future episodes will offer additional insights for the book, my guests, and our listeners. In today's episode, I'm sharing a story about a pivotal moment in my business, a situation that had me questioning everything about the direction I had taken, the investments I had made in time, energy, and money, and what transpired to get me through that experience to land on the other side with confirmation and a bit more confidence. My future guests will be given a story prompt ahead of our call, and instead of a long, organic, multi-insight conversation, we'll dive more deeply into a single story, pulling a thread and revealing a primary insight about the experience. And we'll be leaving space for you, our listeners, to remember your own related experiences and to pull threads that have the potential to guide you toward deeper self-awareness. I'll be eager to hear your thoughts about this new format, so please send me a message via social media or email and let me know. In the first 30 minutes of the week-long Advanced Gallup Coaches Certification training, I understood the practical application of the tool, the accuracy of it, and its potential for improving communication in people's lives. My purpose from the very beginning of my career has been to create environments where people feel safe to bring their best and their most vulnerable selves. And that requires a level of self-reflection and self-awareness that's uncommon. And I recognized very quickly that this tool would be a game changer for my work. This was in late 2018. And within a few months of achieving my Gallup Coaches certification, I signed my first big client contract with a small state agency in Montana. They asked for a full 3-hour introduction to StrengthsFinder workshop, and then a one-to-one session with each of the 50-plus employees. I learned a lot from that contract, and one significant change to my future agreements was that I now meet one-to-one with each employee before the workshop. It's far more efficient for the workshop participants to be familiar with their own talents before we meet as a group. That way, the majority of our time together is actually spent on activities to better understand each other, to recognize how other people's talents influence the dynamics of the team and how best to work together, rather than spending at least half the workshop simply introducing the list of the 34 talents to the group before we can even begin to talk about team dynamics. Following the workshop, I had less than 4 weeks to cram in over 50 one-hour one-to-one sessions. It was like being immersed in a foreign language, bringing me to a level of understanding and insight with this tool that I'm not sure I could have achieved in any other circumstance. It was amazing and exhausting. Allison was probably my 30th one-to-one client in around 2 weeks, and I was relieved to see her walk into the small meeting room with a smile on her face and a light bounce to her step. Beside the 3-hour workshop with her team, I hadn't met her or had a chance to speak with her prior to this session. She sat down expectantly saying, "I love that we're doing this. What a great investment they're making in us." Now, I had kind of predicted this attitude because most people with learner in their top talents tend to be eager to take assessments like these and to learn more about themselves and their colleagues. Her other talents in the top 5 were arranger, consistency, responsibility, and adaptability. Now, if you're not familiar with the 34 StrengthsFinder talents, 3 of her top 5, arranger, consistency, and responsibility, are in the executing domain. That generally refers to a get shit done kind of person, someone who's focused on tasks, on being fair, reliable, and organized. So I was a little surprised to see adaptability added into her mix. I asked her how long she had been in her current job. Oh, about 4 years. And I asked her, do you like it? Doing the same thing every day with the same people in the same office? She said, yes, I love my job. I felt my pulse start to rise and a bit of a flush creeping up through my neck. People with adaptability tend to be 2 to 3 year employees, moving on after they learn and contribute because they get bored. Exceptions are when a job is highly project related, when the person practically changes jobs with each new project, or when a person is able to shift roles within an organization. I asked her where she worked before coming to this agency. Oh, I worked at a bank. For how long? 8 years. Doing the same thing with the same people every day? Yes, and I loved my job. Now I really started to panic. I had invested so much time, energy, and money into this certification, and now I was questioning whether the tool was accurate. I couldn't work with a tool I didn't believe in. There was no future for me with StrengthsFinder if I couldn't trust it. I sat in my chair, quietly looking at her, puzzled and curious. Leaning into my intuition, I asked her, do you ever rearrange the furniture in your house? Her mouth dropped open, and in barely more than a whisper, she said, how did you know that? It drives my kids and grandkids crazy. Every time they come to the house, the TV is moved over there, the couch is moved over here, and my older son comes over every spring to help my husband when I describe where I want my raised beds moved for the garden. I have to say I was filled with relief. The tool was accurate. I just hadn't understood how she was feeding her adaptability talent, because it certainly wasn't at work. Allison's realization about what drives her to rearrange her furniture, to move things around physically in her life, made the activity far more intentional. She realized her need for consistency was being filled at work, and her need for change was being fed at home, and everything came together to make more sense to her. In that moment, I had no idea how pivotal that conversation would be for my business and my relationships and work with my clients. But looking back a few years later, I'm able to see it as a significant turning point. That interaction not only confirmed the accuracy of the tool for me, it made me realize I could trust my instincts with it. And I was right about its potential for meaningful, positive impact on people and their relationships at work and at home. Listeners, now it's your turn. Did my story remind you of something that happened to you? What memories popped into your head when you heard it? What did you learn about me as a person and my work? Did you learn what I do without hearing it directly? I can say I'm a Gallup certified StrengthsFinder coach, but that's not meaningful, and it doesn't give you useful information about what that might mean for you or for a friend you might refer to me. So now I'm asking you, what's a pivotal story in your career? Thanks for listening to Your Stories Don't Define You, How You Tell Them Will. If you're curious to learn about working with me, please visit my website at elkinsconsulting.com to schedule time to chat and sign up for periodic updates about my work. And please connect with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook to see more content about StrengthsFinder, storytelling, and public speaking.
keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.